Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'll be setting up my January bullet journal. I know it's already halfway through the month, so this video is a little late. I actually spent quite a bit of time editing and a few other things came up as well, but I still really wanted to share this setup with you, so I hope it's not too late and let's just get started. For this month's theme, I went with a cozy winter teddy bear vibe. The inspiration actually came from my first sticker collection idea, and I haven't released it yet. This is just a sample and an inspiration piece for now. I'm still testing things, and you might notice some parts are a bit experimental, like the cut-through details at the back. But overall, this is the idea I had in mind for January, a cozy, lazy winter bear theme. Something soft, warm and comforting, the kind of thing that feels perfect for slow winter days. I really wanted January to feel calm and gentle, so this theme felt like the perfect way to start the year. So for the cover page, I'm starting by coloring the main illustration. Today I'll be using Artex acrylic markers, and this is actually my first time using these markers, so I'm definitely still experimenting. I'm not an expert with acrylic markers yet. I'm kind of just testing things out and learning as I go and seeing what works best for me. So if it looks a little imperfect, that's all part of the process. I also wanted to mention that I don't actually have the exact teddy bear color from my sticker sheet in the Artex set. So for the bear skin tone, I'm using a different marker set that's specifically for skin tones. It's not from Artex, it's just a small set with only skin colors. I did try to find a color that matches the original teddy bear sticker, but I couldn't find an exact match. So for this setup, I'm mainly using the bear as an inspiration rather than copying the colors exactly. Because of that, the teddy bear in my bullet journal will have slightly different colors compared to the sticker version, but I think that also makes it feel more handmade and personal. So right now, I'm still working on coloring the bear, and this part honestly takes quite a bit of time. Most of it is just preparing the colors, testing different shades, and figuring out what works best together. I spend a lot of time layering and adjusting the colors, especially with acrylic markers. They don't really blend like alcohol markers, but they do layer really well, so I like to go slowly and build the colors up step by step. I'm also just kind of trusting the process here, trying different combinations, seeing how the colors look once they dry, and making small adjustments as I go. Sometimes it looks a bit messy at first, but it usually comes together in the end. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the setup. Even though it takes time, it feels very calming and cozy, and I like taking it slow instead of rushing through it. So if you're also working on your own bullet journal, don't worry if things take longer than expected. Taking your time and enjoying the process is part of what makes journaling fun. So right now, I'm just adding some small details to the jumper. I like doing this part slowly, adding little lines, tiny patterns, and nothing too complicated, just enough to give it some texture and make it feel cozy. I'm trying not to overthink it too much and just keep it simple. Sometimes the smallest details are what makes the illustration feel more finished. While I'm working on this, I'm actually curious, how has your year been so far? I know it's still early, but I really hope your year has started off gently and in a good way. If you are setting up your journal too, or if you have already started the year feeling busy or overwhelmed, I hope this video can be a calm little moment for you. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about the new year, or what kind of themes you're using in your journal this month. I really love to hear. I'm just going to keep coloring for a bit now and enjoy the process. Feel free to relax and journal along with me. Now I'm adding a few simple doodles around the bear, just 2 small stars near the top and 2 at the bottom, and a couple of little bubble shapes on the side. I wanted to keep this part very minimal. I didn't add too many details because I still want the illustration to be the main focus, and I like having some breathing space on the page. After that, I'm sticking on a few snowflake stickers. These ones are slightly shiny and I really love how subtle they look once they are placed down. I'm only using a few of them, just enough to add a winter feeling without making the page look too busy. For the month title, I was originally going to write January in black, but I decided to switch things up and use my Ohuhu brush pens instead. I felt like the softer brush lettering worked better with the cozy winter vibe of this theme. Now I'm moving on to my quote page. For this month, I chose the quote, "Small steps every day lead to big changes." It's a simple reminder for myself because I often feel like I want to do so many things all at once. This quote helps me remember that it's okay to take things slowly. You don't always need to take big steps. Even small progress is still progress, and over time, it really does add up to something meaningful. I tend to rush myself a lot, so this page is just a gentle reminder that it's okay to slow down, take one step at a time, and trust the process. For the next page, I'll be cutting out these small square shapes. I actually got this idea from the washi tape shop. I saw her use this kind of cutout design in one of her journals and I really love how it looked. So this is just my version of it, inspired by her work. It does take a bit of time, especially since I'm using a craft knife to carefully cut out each shape, but honestly, it's quite a fun and relaxing process. I like adding little details like this to my bullet journal. It gives the page something extra without needing too many decorations. I honestly thought this would take much longer, but it went by faster than I expected. I really enjoyed this process and I think it adds a really nice texture and details to the page. I'm taking out the cut pieces now, and this was probably one of the most satisfying parts of the process. And this is how my January cover page turned out. Next, we're moving on to my monthly calendar page. For this page, I wanted to add something with a cozy winter vibe, so I decided to paint a soft background that could sit underneath the mosaic pieces. It's kind of like a layered background rather than a full illustration. I kept it simple and calming with fluffy clouds, a little moon, some stars, and a few snowflakes to give it that cozy winter night feeling. I wanted to feel gentle and not too detailed, just enough to add texture and warmth behind the mosaic. This part did take a bit of time, especially with all the coloring and small details, but I actually really enjoyed the process. I wasn't aiming for anything too soft here. I wanted the colors to be a little more bold and dreamy and almost like a cozy winter night sky. I love how the deep blues turn out, especially with the moon, stars and clouds layered in. I'll continue coloring here so you can just relax and enjoy the process with me. I really love how this turned out. It was actually quite fun to do and I'm really happy with the final result. Now moving on to the calendar, I decided to keep it simple and outline the calendar boxes using a blue color. I felt like blue would tie in nicely with the winter theme, so I'll be using that to outline everything. For this calendar page, I decided to go by days instead of writing out Monday to Sunday, so I'm keeping it really simple and numbering it from day 1 all the way to day 31. While writing the dates, I actually meant to use my blue brush pen, but I accidentally used my black pen instead. I didn't notice it right away, so I decided to leave it as it is, and please forgive this little mistake. Originally, I was planning to write January directly on the page with a black pen, but I changed my mind. Since I'll be using some checkered paper on the back, I decided to write January on the checkered paper instead and tear it out. I thought it would be a nice way to bring that pattern forward and help everything feel more connected. I really like using the same elements throughout a spread. It helps tie the whole theme together instead of having each page feel separate. So to finish off this page, I'm adding a few small doodles around the January title. And along with a couple of stickers, I didn't want to add too many, just enough so the page doesn't feel too plain but still stays clean. I also added a small quote at the bottom as a gentle reminder for the month. I actually forgot to film this part since my camera stopped recording, so this was done off camera. Now moving on to the next page, these are my monthly trackers. For this month, I decided to include a sleep tracker and a habit tracker. The habits I track can change from month to month, so I like to keep this part flexible and only include what feels useful at the time. For the sleep tracker, I write the days along the vertical column and across the top I mark the hours from AM to PM. I then will be highlighting from the time I fall asleep to the time I wake up, so I can clearly see my sleeping patterns throughout the month. I usually have a bit of trouble falling asleep, so I wanted a visual way to track my sleep and see how it's been going over time. You might hear some bird sounds in the background, and that's actually my neighbor's parrots. They can be a bit noisy sometimes, so you might hear them in a few of my videos. I'm so sorry and please forgive the background noise. For this page, I wanted to keep everything very minimal and calm. I'm only adding a small title banner and a few star lights and a couple of stickers from my collection. I didn't want to over decorate this spread since it's something I'll be using every day. Sometimes simple layouts are the most relaxing to look at. Now moving on to my habit tracker. For this month, I decided to track a few simple habits like no spend, skincare, exercise, and no phone before bed. I designed this spread with 4 little teddy bears sleeping in their beds, one for each habit. At first, I was planning to make blanket flaps that you could lift up, but after sketching everything out, I realized that the square tracker boxes already look like little blankets on their own. At first, I was planning to make the blanket flaps with the scrapbook checkered paper, but in the end, I decided to keep things simpler and just make small changes directly on the spread. I actually really like how this turned out. It still feels cozy and playful without being too complicated. To add a bit more color to the page, I'll be outlining the boxes for each bear in different colors. I thought this will make the spread feel a little more fun and visually interesting, while still keeping everything cohesive and cozy. I had to zoom in a little bit here because I didn't notice my head kept going in and out of the frame. So I'm really sorry if this part looks a bit blurry. It does get clearer again afterwards, so this part is just for a moment. If you look closely here, you might notice a small mistake on the second bear. I actually miscounted the boxes, so the bed ended up a little bigger than I originally planned. I'll be fixing this later on, but for now, I just wanted to leave it as it is. And honestly, I think this is a good reminder that mistakes are totally okay, especially in bullet journaling. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's part of the process. Now I'm using the same color palette from my cover page to color in the bears, so everything feels more cohesive, and I'll be coloring each of them one by one. For now, I'll just continue coloring and finishing off this page, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the coloring process with me. I also like to keep my habit tracker page a little bit fun because this is a page I'll be coming back to every single day. I feel like when a page looks fun and cute, it actually makes you want to come back and fill it in. I would love to know, do you have habit trackers in your bullet journal for this month, and what kind of habits are you usually tracking? Feel free to share them in the comments. I decided to decorate the page with a few stickers and add some small doodles, just to make it feel like a little more lively and fun. You might notice that the lighting changes a little throughout the video. I had to film this in two different sections, one during the day and one in the evening, so the lighting isn't exactly the same. I hope it doesn't bother you too much, and thank you for understanding. Now moving on to the next page, this is my brain dump page. This is where I write down all my ideas, whether it's content ideas, sticker collection ideas, or just anything that's on my mind that I don't want to forget. It's more of a space for quick notes and rough planning rather than anything structured. I wanted to keep this page simple as well, so I drew a teddy bear sitting on his bed writing down ideas. Kind of like a little brain dump moment. I thought it was a fun way to represent what this page is for. I would love to know if you also keep a brain dump page in your bullet journal and what kinds of things you usually write down there. Let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to see how everyone uses their brain dump pages. For the teddy bear on this page, I'm still using the same color palette as the front cover, so everything feels consistent. I did change the pillow colors a little though, just to make them brighter and add a bit more contrast. You might also notice that I forgot to add a little pink to the nose while filming. I added that off camera later on, so you won't see it here, but it will show up in the flip through at the end. And I'm sorry about that. For the lantern at the top, I decided that I didn't really like how it looked in the end, so instead I covered it up with some blue checkered paper. I thought this would work better and also help tie the page with my monthly calendar since I used the same checker pattern there as well. To finish off the page, I'm just adding a simple border around it to bring everything together. Next, I'm moving on to my expense tracker and my monthly budget pages. For the expense tracker, I wanted to keep things simple, so I'm just adding the title, a few little stars, and an envelope at the bottom of the page. Inside this envelope, I'll be keeping an extra expense sheet that I made, and sometimes one page isn't enough for tracking expenses, so this gives me an option to add more whenever I need to. I really like this idea because it's interactive. You can pull the sheet out, write down your expenses down, and tuck it back in again. It makes tracking feel a little more fun and flexible instead of overwhelming. To tie everything together, I'm using the same checkered pattern that I used on my monthly page and my breakdown page to make this envelope. I'm just folding the sides and edges and cutting it into an envelope shape, keeping everything really simple and cohesive. Inside, I made a basic expense tracker sheet. I wanted this part to stay simple because my expenses can sometimes get a bit overwhelming, especially since I'm tracking household expenses as well. Having it this way makes it easier for me to manage, and I really like how practical and flexible this setup feels. I'll just be adding 1 or 2 stickers on the envelope, mainly the little bear and a cloud and a few small snowflakes as well. It's just to keep everything in the same cozy winter bear theme and make sure the pages still feels connected to the rest of the spread. Now moving on to my monthly budget page. This page is where I'll be planning out my fixed expenses and getting an overall budget overview of the month. I've set up by categories so I can write down the budget for each one and track how much I've spent and see how much is left. This way, I can easily check how my spending is going throughout the month, and the notes section is just for anything extra or unexpected, like special occasions, gifts, or any expenses that don't really fit into a category. For the layout, I kept it very simple and used bed-shaped boxes with just a pillow and a bed for each section. I didn't add any bears on this page since it's an important page for me and I wanted to make sure I have enough space to write everything down. Even though I didn't add any bears on this page, I still wanted to feel like it belongs in the cozy bear winter theme, so I went with these lazy comfy bed-shaped layouts. It kind of feels like planning while staying cozy in bed, which I really love for the budget page. And now moving on to my last page. This is my weekly spread. For this one, I want to keep it very simple with no big illustrations, so I have plenty of space to write and plan my week. I'll only be adding a few small doodles here and there just to keep it cute but not distracting. I also decided to start this weekly layout by following the actual calendar days, so since January 1st starts on Thursday, I'll be starting the week from there instead of forcing it to begin on a Monday. This way, it feels more natural and makes planning a lot easier for me. While I'm outlining this weekly page, I just want to say that I don't really use my weekly pages that much. I usually only write down a few important things, so I don't need a very detailed layout here. That's why I'm keeping this page simple and clean, just enough space for anything I might need to note down during the week. And now I'm just giving you a final flip through of my January setup, going through all the pages we worked on together. I really enjoyed putting the spread together, especially taking my time with each page and keeping everything cozy and simple. It felt really nice to sit down and journal again after a while, and I'm honestly really happy with how everything turned out. I hope you enjoyed watching this January bullet journal setup and maybe found a little bit of inspiration or at least felt relaxed while journaling along with me. I wish you a really cozy January, slow mornings, peaceful evenings, and little moments that make you feel at ease. I hope this month brings you comfort, clarity, and just enough energy to take things one step at a time. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and being part of this journey. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!